Hey, it's JJ. How are we doing? We are into May, and May is an amazing time to be out in the woods. Look at this, an absolute carpet of bluebells. Now, most of you know that I would have liked to have shown you the bluebells in their full splendour in my old wood, but that got destroyed by careless individuals, and I'm never going back to that wood again. But I'm really lucky where I live is that we have loads of woods just like this with bluebells, and this is a special wood. This is a semi-natural woodland, which means it's kind of been around for at least the 1600s and possibly a lot longer, and there's a lot of old hornbeam that would have been coppiced and used for firewood going back generations and generations. And what I'd like to do today is just pitch up with a little bit of a tarp, because there's some rain forecast. Obviously it's May, so going to get rain, but just going to have a little bit of time in the woods. Catch you in a bit. Bluebells are a protected species under UK law. Whenever you're walking around woodlands at this time of year, you should always try and stick to designated footpaths and existing tracks and trails as much as possible. Can't overemphasize that enough. I've found myself a nice little clearing between two hornbeams just here. I'm going to get myself set up. Just a little bit under the weather today. We've just returned from a lovely 10-day break in Tenerife. Unfortunately, on the flight over, there was someone who was just coughing and sneezing for hours. I had 5 hours of that, and a couple of days later I ended up with a raging fever and COVID. And then on the flight back, there was an air steward who was coughing and sneezing for hours, and I think I've just got a little bit of a cold as well, so I'm a little bit out of breath, a little bit tired, but surrounded by this spectacle of the bluebells, a little bit of a brew should sort me right out. There we go, all nicely set up. I'm using the OEX Bushcraft Pro Tarp, and I've got it long ways, so it gives me enough sort of headroom to sit under. And I've run a secondary ridge line underneath just to elevate it, and just try and be really careful of those bluebells that are towards the back. And just got the DD Magic Carpet XL underneath, but there wasn't too many bluebells. Nice lightweight carry in with a Fjällräven stub and pack. And we're going to have the Swedish m40 stainless steel cookset for boiling water for a brew, and a bit of the old Steak Detective beef steak, vegetables and dumplings. Happy days. Nicely set up, nice and taut ridge line. Ridge line's going off to secure. Just look at that, absolutely stunning. Just making a little handle. So I'm going to use the Swedish Cookset, and I'm using the larger vessel for actually boiling my water to put my pouch in, and then this sits on top to obviously keep the heat source in. And obviously there can be some residual heat that you can get there from the handle, which is stainless steel. So what I do, just find a small stick This has got two little loops on it, and then just find a stick that's just the right sort of thickness, so then you create a handle for taking that off. And this can be used as a separate cooking vessel as well, but that is going to work a treat. Takes just a minute or two. Handy little tip to use. The original Trangia meth sort of burner that goes with this is a lot larger than those that you find commonly nowadays. So it has a larger reservoir in here, and in this section down the bottom there is a wick that runs all the way around, and with cheaper alternatives, newer versions that are on the market nowadays, they don't necessarily always have that wick. So the wick acts as a real sort of conductor for the meths to come up and actually burn. So if you can get hold of an original, it's a larger port, it'll burn for longer. Happy days. So we're just gonna top that up with just a little bit more, and you have to just pour that in and just let it all settle in, and then we'll get that light ready for a brew. Happy days, happy days. No fancy technique for lighting this today, it's just a lighter. Let's get that brew going. So I've let the meths settle in there nicely now. Where I know where it is. So you're not really going to see it on the flame as it immediately sort of takes, but I can just see that it's just taken. What I normally do is, once I've got that lit, I mean, I'm just using a Costa coffee, other brands are available, little wooden stirrer, soak that in, light it, set it over, and just start to let that go, and we just let that heat build up in it. If you like a brew with a Trangia and you've got all time to sit around and wait 15 odd minutes for that water to boil, that's all well and good. I'm primarily using this today just to boil a pouch food, so that's going to take 5-10 minutes just to get some real heat in, let that flame disperse down in and start going around the portholes, the breathing holes for it. Just place the windshield over. I've got my vessel with a handle ready. I've already got water in there, so you might as well just place that in there, pop that over the top, job done. Which is all well and good if you want to wait 20 minutes for a brew, but this is why you bring a secondary flask out. Oh, no, this, sorry. I brought that in the anticipation of making a brew from that, but then I couldn't be bothered. We've already got hot coffee ready to go. Happy days. Don't mind waiting sometimes, but I want the brew now. Sometimes it's just finding the real simple little things that make stuff like this work a little bit easier. And a lot of the time I'm not the most patient guy in the world either. Happy days, happy days. And we'll stop the film here. The Ministry of Beef, steak, vegetables and dumplings, don't you know? In the woods with the bluebells, and the trees all green. Absolutely spiffing, old chaps, absolutely spiffing. Rations fit for the troops. That is nicely done. Just trodden a little area down here where that can just sit and cool down. And then we'll just put the lid on that just to preserve heat, so I can have another proper brew if I want to. That's why you wear gloves. Once you put the lid on, don't touch it, just let it be. Don't pick it back up to see if it's gone out, just let it be. Oh, smells and looks like steak, vegetables and dumplings. It's going to be hot, we'll let that cool down. If you're going to go pouch food in the woods, it's nothing better than Stevie's and the State Detective Collective, proper scran. Happy days, happy days. Spoon ready to go. Absolutely stunning, absolutely stunning. Well, I've had a very pleasurable couple of hours in the woods. Took all my kit down and then spent a little time swinging in a hammock. I know what you're saying. I guess I'm kind of known for my love of the la vu, but sometimes if I'm going to hammock, I generally do it between two trees. And I do use other tent systems. And the main reason I didn't use my Lavu today is because my main Lavu, the one modded by my good friend Sean Iverson, Northern Outdoors UK, I've sent that one back to have some other work done to it. So stay tuned, you'll see that in a video in a couple of weeks' time. So until the next time, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch up again soon. See ya.